Hi guys, my name is Erica. Welcome to ScrunchyAZMom. If you are new here, I make videos about living scrunchy, a scrunchy parenting style for my baby Sammy. He's going to be right here throughout the video playing with his play mat. But I make videos about cloth diapering. I have some breastfeeding videos planned, cleaning videos, mom lifestyle. We're going to start baby-led weaning videos next week when he starts eating solids. So if you like these type of videos, please subscribe to my channel and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos. And I reached out to you guys on Instagram and I asked you guys if you wanted to see a video on my labor and delivery story or if you wanted to see a video on what's in my diaper bag. And literally it was like half and half. So I'm going to go ahead and film both of those videos today for you guys. So if you guys don't follow me on Instagram, go ahead. I will leave a link down below. Go ahead and follow me on Instagram. I actually just posted a picture for a Q&A that I'm going to do on my channel now that I am over 100 subscribers. I just want you guys, if you don't know me in person, to like get to know me. So head on over to my Instagram page. You can ask me questions about like being a new mom, like my cleaning products, like anything that you guys want to ask me. And in a couple weeks, once I have enough questions, I'll do a Q&A so you guys can learn new things about me. So like I said, today's video is going to be my labor and delivery story, which I will preface with the fact that it's really long. Like, I was in labor for 3 days, so this video is going to be long. So go ahead and grab a cup of coffee, grab a cup of tea, grab a glass of wine, and watch this video. Alright, so I was due with my baby on July 5th of 2017, and I knew, like, well throughout my pregnancy, I had a feeling, and I was high risk, so I knew that I was not going to make it to my due date. I knew that I was not going to see July pregnant. So, about 2 weeks, no, like 2.5 weeks before my due date, on June 17th, it was the day before Father's Day, TMI, but I lost my mucus plug, so I knew that labor was coming. Like, I knew that I probably wasn't going to go into labor that day, but I knew that labor was like imminent and that within the next couple of days that I was going to be going into labor. So the next day was Father's Day, and I had contractions like literally off and on all day long. We had company over, my fiance's kids came over and my family came over, and I just had contractions like all throughout the day, but I didn't really think anything of it because nothing was consistent. They weren't something I could like time or anything like that, and they weren't getting more intense, so I just thought labor is coming, but it's not going to. But kind of going backwards, when I was 34 weeks pregnant, I was diagnosed with gestational diabetes, and my whole pregnancy was high risk, so then that kind of just like added on to the problems. And I knew that I was going to be induced that Wednesday, which was the 21st, which incidentally ended up being the day I had the baby. But I was going to be induced on June 21st because of the diabetes, because I had other high-risk issues. So on Father's Day, my sister was like, hey, you should start doing like natural induction things, which my doctor had already cleared me to start doing that once I turned 36 weeks, I want to say. So I've kind of been doing stuff like that, like walking more, TMI, but they tell you to have sex more often, like nipple stimulation, like all kinds of crazy things that they tell you help to induce labor. So I was doing all those things. So we had our whole Father's Day thing, and the kids came over and everything. And then that evening, me and my fiance went out for a walk, like around our neighborhood, and I was kind of having contractions throughout that, but again, nothing too intense. And then they just stopped. Like, I went to bed and I was like, well, I guess today isn't the day that I'm having my baby, or tomorrow. So I went to bed and everything was fine. I slept normal. And then in the morning, my fiance got up to go to work. It was Monday morning, which is the 19th. And he got up to go to work, and this was around 5 o'clock in the morning. And when he woke up, it kind of woke me up. So I woke up to use the bathroom, and like, I just kind of felt weird that day. Like, I don't know if my body knew something was up, but I felt weird, and I was like, I'm just gonna go sit outside and like watch the sunrise, which is something I've never ever done before. But I just figured I'm gonna go sit outside on the porch and I'm gonna watch the sunrise. And when I was outside, I started leaking, and I'm like, what the heck, like my water is not breaking. So I text my sister and I'm like, hey, I'm leaking, and she's like, dude, you're like not going into labor. I have a training all week long. You cannot have this baby right now because I won't be able to be there. So she's like, just, it's fine, nothing's wrong. So I'm like, well, yeah, maybe my water didn't break. Maybe it's just leaking, because if you've been pregnant, especially towards the end, you leak a lot. Like, it's gross, but it is what it is. So I was like, I'm gonna go back to bed. So as I was walking back to my bedroom from the patio, I started like gushing water, and I was like, holy crap, like my waters are breaking. It's like, I'm freaking out. So I call my birth doula. We hired a birth doula like early on in the pregnancy. So I called her and I'm like, hey, this is going on. And she's like, well, it sounds like your water is breaking. So you need to go to the hospital to confirm it. They're going to do like a test strip and you'll know if your water's broken. So I called my fiance, this was like at 5:30. So he had barely like made it to where he was going. And I'm like, sorry guy, like you need to turn around because we're going to have a baby. So, I just, got ready. I did my hair, my makeup. Like, I made sure that all our bags were in the living room and ready to go when he got here. So he came home, took a shower, and we swung by for my sister. She, like, skipped her training, and she's like, come by and pick me up so I can go with you to the hospital and see if your water's really broken. Hi. So we went to the hospital, and immediately they were like, yeah, your water's broken. They did the test strip, and it came out positive. So my water was breaking. But I was not in active labor. Like, I was having random contractions, and they could see them when they hooked me up to like the monitor, but they were just so like inconsistent, and like some were strong and some were just like I couldn't even feel them, but they could see them. So I was not in active labor at this point by like 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. So let's see. So they told me, go ahead and start walking around, and hopefully that'll set you, into a normal, regular labor pattern so that you can start dilating. Because when I checked into the hospital, I want to say I was 2 centimeters dilated when I got to the hospital. So, I just walked and walked and walked all around the hospital, and I ate, and we just kind of hung out and trying to get myself into labor patterns. Like, I did different positions in the triage room, and then around 3 o'clock they said, okay, your room in the actual delivery unit is ready. So I called my birth doula and I'm like, hey, you should probably come to the hospital now. Let's do some labor positions. Let's try to do like acupuncture. Let's do something to try to like push me into like a normal regular labor pattern so I can get this baby out. Okay, so then I got transferred into my labor room, which was amazing. Like, I had seen this labor room. It's one of their newest labor rooms at the hospital where I went, and it was amazing. Like, it was the biggest one in the hospital. Like, it had this huge jacuzzi bathtub for you to soak in. It had like a full-size bathroom. Like, at one point I had like 15 people in there, and it was huge. Like, it was amazing. I'm so glad I got that room. But I checked into that room. My doula got there, and we started doing some exercises and stuff to try to like get labor going. And then by 4 o'clock I had a cervical exam. This was still Monday. By 4 o'clock I had a cervical exam that showed I was only still 2 centimeters dilated, and a -3 station, which means, like, if you know about like stations, like 3 is the like highest in the cervical, in like the canal, and then 0 is like when they're like about to crown. So he was still really, really high up, and I was only at a 2. So just like as a background on, you need to know this in order to understand like what happened throughout my labor. So a year before I got pregnant, I had a LEEP procedure done because I had some cancerous and precancerous cells on my cervix. So if you've ever had a LEEP done, basically all it is they take like an instrument and they burn the cells to kind of kill them. And then what ended up happening is that it makes like scar tissue all around the pieces where they burned, and all the little cervical cells that I had that were coming up like bad were all around the openings. So it kind of like sealed my cervix shut and wasn't allowing me to dilate, to open. So what the nurses were doing every time they checked me is they would literally like with their fingers manually try to pry off that scar tissue, which not only was excruciating, but it would just like send my body like reeling with pain. So they kept trying to do that to try to rip it off to see if they could pop that scar tissue off, and then I would open up naturally. So they did that, and that wasn't working. Like, they weren't able to rip off the scar tissue. They thought that the more effaced I got, which is the more thin you get, what? That I would be able to they would be able to rip it off. So By 5 o'clock, the doctor came in and he's like, look, your water broke about 12 hours ago. So either you start progressing or you're going to end up in C-section tonight. And I was like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm not going to have this baby by C-section. I'm not going to have interventions. I am not going to have an epidural. Like, I'm not going to do all these things. I'm not going to get Pitocin. I'm not going to get anything because that was my birth plan. Like, I sat down with my doula and did a birth plan, gave it to the nurses, and was like, no, you read that. I'm not getting any of those things. So he kind of used scare tactics to tell me, like, well, you're high risk and the diabetes and this and that. You know, you're going to need a C-section. So I said, okay, if I agree to some intervention, can we kind of negotiate so that I don't end up in C-section? So at this point, he convinced me to start Pitocin by about 5 o'clock that evening. So about 12 hours after my water broke. So I started Pitocin and I agreed to like the lowest amount of Pitocin, which is 2 units. And that kind of got things starting to move a little bit better, but I wasn't still going into labor, and we were just kind of hanging out, and about 5:39 I started to feel a difference in the contractions. So we started to do like different birthing positions to kind of get things going, to move the baby further down the canal. So I did like the birth ball, I did the squatting birth seat, I did like the squat bar on my bed, we walked around more. Like, I did everything to try to get him to move further down and also for me to dilate naturally. By 7:25, the shift had changed, so a new nurse came in and she moved me up to 12 units of Pitocin. Everything was going good. My blood sugar was good from the diabetes, and I tried like the peanut ball. And then by 8:30, the new doctor came in and, you know, said that everything was looking good. I didn't have any signs of like infection. My temperature wasn't rising, so we were all good to keep going, because that's kind of what they worry about if your water has broken and you haven't had a baby in so long, is that your body could develop an infection. But they were monitoring that really well, and I was doing good. My sugars, everything was perfect. So they said, okay, keep going through the night. So then by 10 o'clock, I was still only 2 centimeters dilated, and my Pitocin was up to 20 units. So around 10 o'clock, I went ahead and told my family, like my sister was there, and I think my mother-in-law was there, and like my sister-in-law was there, and I told them, you know, go ahead and go home and get some rest, get some food, and I'm gonna go ahead and get into the bathtub because I had this huge jacuzzi bathtub, and I'm gonna try to relax, and hopefully once I relax, like, my body will open up and all this hippie stuff that I thought was gonna happen. So I got into the bathtub, and I'll try to insert some pictures here of like the process. I'll try to insert them throughout the video, but I have some pictures of me in the bathtub laboring. So if you're in a normal labor scenario, water is super, super good for pain. But what ended up happening with me is that the water calmed me down so much that my contractions stopped. Like, they just stopped. They just slowly tapered off.